This is Buddha Point, a fabulous place to pause and reflect right here on the Pacific Ocean. Over my left shoulder is Kohala, the mountain just to the north of us, and over my right is the island of Maui and Haleakala, the dominant feature on the island of Maui. This place, this location exactly right here, is one of the most important places in all of Polynesia, not just Hawaii. This is where King Kamehameha lived his life, and King Kamehameha is the single most celebrated person in the history of Hawaii and probably in the entire Pacific. He is the one who unified the Hawaiian Islands years ago. There's an amazing story about how Waikoloa got its name and identity, and I'll share a little bit about that with you. Is that back in the old days, this island was split up into 8 parts, and chiefs maintained each section of land. It went from the top of Mauna Kea and then went out in an 8th slice of the pie out to the ocean, so that each chief around the island had the same fair share of land and ocean front, so that if you succeeded or failed, it was based on your own merit, not on the location of the property. Because this particular location, Waikoloa, is so dry, it's dry all year around, nobody in meaningful numbers lived here. And there were 2 rival tribes, one in Kohala and one down south in Kona. There's a famous legend of a giant who used to live here in Waikoloa, who slept all day long, and he was surrounded by ducks. Whenever people came to him to do bad to him, the ducks would sound and alert him that trouble was on the way. And that's where Waikoloa got its name. Wai means fresh water, and Koloa means ducks. The name Hawaii, for example, Ha is the breath of life. When we say aloha, alo is the front half of your body, and Ha is the breath of life. Wai is fresh water, and E is God. And so Hawaii essentially means heaven, broken up into 3 parts. Now, the story goes that the Kohala chief had a sister, and the sister ran off and married the chief of the folks down in Kona and started the war to end all wars on this island. And the most tragic event in the history of this island is a battle was fought right here in Waikoloa. And as a result, Hawaiians believe that there's an enormous amount of spirituality right here. In fact, right here. And Buddha Point is at the center of that. Hawaiians on all of the islands have the same belief that people who come to the Big Island don't come here because they want to go on vacation. They're actually summoned here by the goddess Pele every time it's time to close the book on one chapter of life and start a new chapter in a new direction in your life. It's easy to assume when somebody lives in Hawaii, they probably don't travel all that often. Heck, we're already here in paradise. But the truth is, Hawaiians, as a rule, are some of the best traveled people in the world. And when we travel to our neighbor islands, like here on the island of Maui, we like to stay at one of the best hotels in the world, the Waldorf Astoria's Grand Wailea, here on the southwest coast, Wailea Beach, here on the island of Maui. Now, the Grand Wailea has 3 big advantages. One is the water features here are absolutely thrilling. My kids tell me they are second to none in any place that they've ever been in the world. Second is the beach itself. The property is directly abutting Wailea Beach, one of the premier beaches in all the world, and perhaps the single nicest beach in the United States. But over my shoulder here, you realize there's so many neat activities so close to the property. One of them is Molokini Crater, one of the great diving spots in the entire Pacific region. And then this property itself sits on the downslope of Haleakala, the only active volcano outside of the Big Island. If you get a chance, there's two things you really have to do on this island. One is go to Molokini Crater. Two is to watch sunrise up at the top of Haleakala. But I'm gonna forewarn you, dress for warmth. It's frighteningly cold up there, but the sunrise will absolutely blow your mind. Directly over my left shoulder is Molokini Crater, some of the best diving in the entire Pacific. And you can imagine amazing scuba diving. Across from it is Turtle Town, so there's big turtles in this area as well. One of the great things about the Grand Wailea is that they actually teach scuba diving classes on property. So if you want a particularly high-end experience, expect the most extravagant diving experience you've ever had. Every night there's a great tiki torch lighting ceremony with conch shells and traditional ceremonial chanting that starts inside and comes all the way out here to the far corner of the property. This restaurant right over here is called Humu Humus, which stands for Humu Humu Nuku Nuku Apoa'a, which is the state fish, which is wildly abundant out here on the shoreline. And if we take a look over here at Wailea Beach right here on the shoreline, this was voted by Dr. Beach as the #1 beach in all of America. Like the Grand Wailea in Maui, Hilton in Waikoloa started its life off as a Hyatt property. Both the Grand Wailea and the Hilton Waikoloa properties were built by developers who had a love affair with artwork. And you'll discover here at Hilton Waikoloa, the artwork is utterly extravagant, and it's everywhere you look. Now, one of the limitations of the Hilton Waikoloa in a lot of folks' eyes is that it's not direct oceanfront. Well, in fact, it's on an enormous stretch of direct oceanfront real estate. The complaint is that it doesn't have a dedicated white sand beach. Well, it actually has that too on the interior of the property. This lagoon is one of the iconic hallmarks of all of Hawaii, and Hawaiians revere not just this property, but this lagoon. This waterfall right here puts in 15,000 gallons of seawater every minute. And it does it from 250 feet deep out in the bottom of the ocean. And it's clear bottom of the ocean seawater that's so clean and so valuable for the life that lives around here, the turtles, the barracudas, the eels, that this lagoon abounds with amazing wildlife, even more dense than you'll see sometimes out in the ocean. The waterfall itself is magnificent, but if you stroll around, you'll see that because it's a protected harbor, there's all kinds of water sports that people get to play around with while they're out here in Waikoloa. And then the snorkeling is absolutely amazing. Now, there's two main reasons that you've never heard of the Hilton Waikoloa, and that is conventions and timeshare. And so this property caters to both in enormous numbers. There are any number of convention sites here on the property, and on any given day there will be every kind of company that you can imagine having their yearly celebrations or annual meetings and such, because Waikoloa is such a private and exclusive place that there aren't tons of distractions. So it makes for a great place to bring everybody together from around the world, which is what people have done here for decades. The second is timeshare. This property features a huge timeshare investment on the part of Hilton. So a great many people who've come out here have come out here by invitation of Hilton. And so it's not a property that comes up on a lot of people's radar as often as you might think. As a result of so many people coming out on timeshare presentations, you get a lot of that negative vibe feedback that we had to go to a meeting and all of that sort of thing. And folks should know when they come out here, if they're coming out here on a timeshare invitation, that that's just how it works. The property itself, however, has missed a lot of people as a result of these two things. And because some of the reviews are hit and miss, well, then it misses a little bit more. The truth of this property is that if you were to live in Hawaii, you would know this is perhaps the signature property of all of the Hawaiian Islands in the eyes of people who live here in Hawaii. So let me give you a lay of the land. So right here is the restaurant called Botero's. It's an open air bar that's great for late night snacks. It's named after the Colombian artist Fernando Botero. If you've ever been to Italy, his works are all over Venice. When Takeshi Sekiguchi opened this property in 1991, the last thing he did was install so much artwork that in 1991 dollars, it was valued at $30 million. The artwork is totally fantastic around here. And taking a look at where we are on the property, we'll head on out to the lanai. You'll realize that it's direct ocean front here in Maui. Down below us is the grand dining room. So at night, things end at Botero's for a late night snack and a drink. But your day begins here in the grand dining room. And it's a fabulous morning buffet featuring dragon fruit, lychee, and all the exotic stuff. Yeah, it's fabulous breakfast buffet, and Botero's is a fabulous place to end the night. To give you an idea of what you're in for here in Waikoloa, it's 62 acres of direct oceanfront paradise, featuring monorails, millions and millions of dollars of artwork in a spectacular dream setting. In fact, the show Paradise Run on Nickelodeon is filmed here, and for many years there's been an episode of Wheel of Fortune filmed here. Well, there's been a great many spectacular things that have happened here in Waikoloa over the years, because it really is as pretty a place as there is in the entire world. Now it's your choice when you're here at the Hilton Waikoloa. You can either take the tram, the monorail here, there's a waterway with water boats, or you can walk the endless art galleries that abound here at Hilton Waikoloa. This is the newest restaurant on the property. It's called Nui, an Italian restaurant that we've been lucky enough to visit a few different times, and we absolutely love it. We love the location, we love the peace and relaxation, and the food isn't too bad either. This whole place is absolutely amazing. So here's the Grand Wailea's iconic dolphin sculpture that's featured in pretty much every advertisement the Grand Wailea has ever put out. But right over my left shoulder here, there's a beautiful church here with magnificent stained glass inside. And then turning around, the Spa Grande, or the Spa Grand, is right over here. And it is huge and amazing. So if you're into full body massages while you're on vacation, you couldn't have picked a better place. But you see really the magnificent nature of the property. It's a big sprawling property on 40 acres. And then coming back around, it is direct oceanfront here in Wailea, Maui. On a beautiful sunlit day like today, there's hardly a prettier place in the world than the Grand Wailea here on Wailea Beach in Maui. Taking a look around, obviously beautiful green, lush, tropical life everywhere you look. And then also pools of water, lazy rivers, and then out to the endless ocean. Wailea Beach, one of the premier beaches, not just in the United States, but around the world. And then cabanas everywhere you go, so that sense of privacy and exclusivity abounds everywhere over 40 acres here on the Wailea coastline. Now this property is super duper fun for kids. There's endless rope bridges and swimming pools and secret places that you can find yourself in. There's hot tubs that seem to pop out of nowhere, and all of it in a spectacular lush setting here on 40 acres on Wailea Beach, right on the coast of Maui. Now, everywhere you look around here, it's pools and waterfalls, cabanas, big fancy umbrellas. It's a pretty magnificent place. Also, there's a lazy river that goes from the top all the way down to the bottom, and it ends up right down over here. And then there are two water slides. One of them is a super fast water slide that takes about 14 seconds to race on down. To get back up, there's a pretty neat feature. You can certainly walk around and go up to the top, but one of the early designers of the property was disabled and couldn't personally walk from the bottom to the top. So they made a neat feature, a water elevator that you have to experience firsthand. It actually, the water surges up in a controlled environment that gets you from the bottom all the way up to the top. Now here in Waikoloa, there's an adorable church right on the property, whereas at the Grand Wailea, it has one of the most extravagant churches in all of Hawaii. So for those of you thinking about having a wedding ceremony, Grand Wailea, hands down, has a big advantage over here in Waikoloa. Funny story, customers of mine got married here recently, and guess who officiated the wedding? It was yours truly, first and probably last time I've ever done it, but it was a blast. But I'll tell you one great thing about this particular church, again, being right on the water, it's exceptionally pretty from the sightlines here inside the church. And then if you pan around, this is the lagoon that we were mentioning earlier, and it is one of the signature aspects of all of Hawaii. One of the limitations of this property, in fact, come on along, is that it's simply so big, and so covering 62 acres, it's a long walk, especially if you park in public parking. My first advice is just spend the extra $5 and get the valet parking. You're crazy not to, because you're going to make it all the way to your room, realize you left your glasses in the car, and it's going to be a long journey to get back to your glasses, which are in the back 40 of the property. Just do the valet and thank me later. The other thing is the property being so big. So a lot of folks say, well, it's so big, it takes me a long time to walk from one place to the next. Well, I liken it to the city of Paris. I love the city of Paris because you get to walk. There's so much to see, there's so much to do. Why would you not want to walk around Paris? Driving through Paris takes all the fun out of it. It's the same here in Waikoloa. There's just so many millions of dollars of artwork, and it's all unusual artwork. It's artwork throughout Hawaiian history, it's artwork throughout West Asian history, Thai history, and so there's so much to see here. Why wouldn't you want to walk through it all? Now, one of the things that makes Hawaii so uniquely mesmerizing is its topography. It is formed by a single volcanic source, and over the millions of years, that single volcanic source has formed any number of islands. In fact, there are 122 islands currently in the Hawaiian Island Archipelago, and there's a new one being formed right off of the coast of the big island here. If I look over my right shoulder, that's the mountain Hualalai, just south of here in Waikoloa. Over my left shoulder would be Haleakala, and that is Maui's primary mountain. Maui and the big island are side by side here in the Hawaiian Islands. What's different about Waikoloa is it's not at the base of one mountain, it's at the base of 4 different mountains. Not only is there Hualalai to the south, but if I go east, I have Mauna Loa and Mauna Kea, and then just north is Kohala. Well, Mauna Loa isn't just the biggest object on the Earth, it's the 8th biggest object in the entire solar system. Next to it is Mauna Kea, which is the single best vista in the entire world, and it's also the tallest object in the world. Mount Everest starts at sea level and goes up. Mauna Kea starts at the bottom of the ocean and goes up. Mauna Kea isn't just bigger than Mount Everest, it's a mile taller than Mount Everest. Well, the thing about being at the base of 4 different mountains is that Waikoloa is in the shadow of all shadows as it pertains to weather. So if I look around, I see clouds everywhere except Waikoloa. Waikoloa actually only gets 7 inches of rainfall each and every year. Now in Maui, in Haleakala, the Grand Wailea is also in a shadow. That's also the dry side of Maui, just like Waikoloa is the dry side of the big island. But it isn't surrounded by 4 mountains the way that Waikoloa is, and the weather isn't nearly as consistent as it is here in Waikoloa. Now there are golf courses on either side of the property here in Waikoloa, the King's Course and the Beach Course, and as you can see, they're utterly spectacular right on the Pacific Ocean. However, as beautiful as they are, I'm going to give the advantage on this one to the Grand Wailea in Maui. There are some really amazing golf courses, and I mean really amazing golf courses here on the Big Island. But Maui's golf courses, particularly in Kaanapali, are famous, even legendary, around the world. So the property is broken up into 3 parts. There's the Lagoon Tower, the Palace Tower, and then the Ocean Tower. The Ocean Tower always got a little bit of bad press because it was the oldest of the 3 and maybe most in need of an update. Hilton actually sold the Ocean Tower, the biggest part of the property, to Hilton Grand Vacations. Believe it or not, they're 2 different companies. And Hilton Grand Vacations spent an enormous amount of money turning it into one of the real treasures here in all of Hawaii. And this is the greeting area right here with this fabulous view just right outside the door. Well, let's take a look around. This is the Visitors Center for Ocean Tower by Hilton Grand Vacations. Look around and realize that it's a no expense spared type of mentality. Private lounge for visitors and their guests. Come on inside. We're surrounded by boutique shops. There's a place for storage and lockers and showers. TVs all around, places to simply relax and meditate, and then you have the entire property experience as well. Ocean Tower, which once was the, not low rent district, but maybe it was kind of the low rent district of the Waikoloa Hilton property, is now as nice as anything that there is in all of Hawaii. This is the famous, or as some would say, infamous tram. Why? Because it's so slow. You can walk almost as fast as this tram goes. However, those people who complain don't know the secret about this property at the Hilton Waikoloa. And the secret is this right here. Waikoloa Hilton over at Ocean Tower makes the single best acai bowls in the whole wide world. Why that's a big deal is it's right next to where the tram starts at Ocean Tower. So you can enjoy your acai bowl on a nice, slow, air-conditioned glide from one side of the property all the way to the other. Now there are two more things that are absolutely amazing about the property here in Waikoloa. The first is this swimming pool complex with water slides and waterfalls, rope bridges and tiki huts. Take a look around. The second is the Dolphin Exhibit. The Dolphin Exhibit gives kids from around the world a chance to be a part of the dolphin experience, to train them, to be in the water with them. It's one of the neatest things you'll ever do in your life as a kid. One of the worries about dolphins in captivity is that somehow their overall life experience is minimized. Keep in mind that dolphins in the wild live to be about 10 to 15 years old, where they have dolphins here in Waikoloa that are over 40 years old. Also, because this is such a water-themed property on 62 acres direct oceanfront with a private lagoon, the property has the opportunity to release the dolphins out into more open water without worrying about losing the dolphins. And so, unlike most water parks, the dolphins have ample opportunity to kind of stretch their legs, so to speak, in a way they never would at any other property of its kind anywhere in the world. Admittedly, the Grand Wailea is an expensive vacation, especially when you consider the flights for your entire party coming all the way out here to Maui. But let me tell you something, the Grand Wailea is the absolute best of the best. If you want a treasured vacation that you and your family are never going to forget, let me tell you something, the Grand Wailea is as good as it gets, whether here in Hawaii or anywhere in the world. So now it's time to pick a winner. And the Grand Wailea is certainly going to stand out. The Grand Wailea in Maui, and Maui in general, stands out as one of the premier vacation destinations in the entire world. One nice thing between either property, whichever one you choose, especially if you come in the first couple of months of the year, all of the whales from Alaska come down in this channel to breed. And so whether you're in Maui or you're here on the Big Island, you have absolutely phenomenal whale watching right outside your front door. In fact, from here on the property, you can watch the whales jump up and down right outside your bedroom door. If you can only pick one, and I can only pick one, and your number one value was the status of taking a world-class vacation, well, there's a no-brainer. You would take the Grand Wailea. It's a Waldorf Astoria on Maui, and those are two things that everybody understands are as good as it gets in the world. But bear in mind, the Big Island is just like Maui. It's just vastly larger than Maui. There's so much more to do here, so much more to see, so much more to experience, and there's very few people relative to what's on the island of Maui. There are not crowds, there are not traffic jams. We just don't have anything like that on the Big Island like they do in Maui. The Grand Wailea is a direct oceanfront beach experience, where the Hilton Waikoloa is a direct oceanfront lagoon experience. You're gonna have to weigh those two out, which one's more important to you. Slight advantage to golf in the Grand Wailea, slight advantage to family fun and things to do here in Waikoloa. For me, it's a no-brainer. Hilton in Waikoloa and Waikoloa in general is absolutely summer camp for adults, summer camp for kids, and summer camp for families. I think it's not just one of the neat hotels in the world, it's one of the neat experiences in the world. And if I had to pick one, no doubt about it, I'd pick Waikoloa, and I'd pick the Hilton right here in Waikoloa Village.